We saw a presentation that you gave at a university where you were speaking in front of an audience, and you candidly and hilariously stated that looking retrospectively at 40 years of work was kind of perverse, that you felt like you were just going to throw up, that it was hard to make sense of all this stuff, and that you could just projectile vomit. So we're not going to go into your entire trajectory of work, but your work does actually go in cycles of ideas, and we find some of these popping up in our current show. So we thought that we could speak a bit about Can I Borrow Your Whole, and dive tangentially into the past, a bit of like a to and fro. So let's start with the poster child of the exhibition that we've used for the invite, and which is also featured behind us, which is called Weeds Artemisia vulgaris. And so this is one of the new works that also includes texts and goes through different strands in your practice. It surrounding the work and featured within the image is a mugwort, which has abortive properties. And we very much enjoyed its satirical qualities and the way that it harks back to American history, but also different power struggles. So we were wondering if you could share a bit about what's going on in this piece.
I can share threads. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's begin with corn, since corn features, a corn cob features heavily in this piece. Corn has a really deep history in the Americas. It was here long before the white settlers came. It was regarded with great respect by indigenous populations. White European men came and took the land, took the corn, and made it into an industrial crop. Today, Monsanto Corporation dominates the industrial agriculture world. They've created genetically modified corn. It's a sweet corn containing Bt toxin designed to protect the plant by rupturing the stomach of any insect that feeds on it. Because of the way it pollinates, genetically modified plants, corn plants, cannot be totally isolated in Monsanto fields. The air carries the pollen to other farms. This genetically modified corn impacts other species of corn growing in the same geographical areas. It's a very unhealthy situation. You know, we also eat a lot of corn in the United States. After my long stay in Switzerland, many decades ago, I had some visitors from Switzerland who came to the States with me, and they were shocked at how much corn we ate. They were like, this is what we give the cattle to eat. This is not what humans eat. But we eat a lot. We eat a lot in the summertime. It's, you grill it on the fire. It's all very like rustic and back to nature. When America was a much more agrarian society, corn cobs were kept as feed for cattle in the winter, but they were also used in the outhouses when people didn't yet have indoor plumbing. When I say corn cob, I mean the cob after the kernels have been taken off. They were used for wiping your butt on. I actually had done a couple of photos early in the 90s, 1990s, obviously, a series that was never shown. It was called the Deliverance series. The photos were consequently lost in Hurricane Sandy, but I had put pins, like little sewing craft pins, into corn cobs to make it look like a person. One had a little tag with Colonel, C-O-L-O-N-E-L, as in Colonel of the Army. It's a play on the words Colonel and Kernel. Both K-E-R-N-E-L is the seed kernel of the corn, what you eat and what you plant. So they're homonyms. Spelled with a K, it means a kernel of corn. Spelled with a C, it means an army higher up. I made another cob, with a tiny tag that said privy. Privy also has two meanings. One, the outhouse or the outdoor shack where you would go to pee and poo before indoor plumbing is called a privy. Privy is also a rarefied group of people that have power, like a private council, and information described as privy is privileged information. Then there is the phallic form of the corn cob. Some of my very early text pieces, like Pussy Beaver Cunt, which is actually in the Metro Pictures 40-year anniversary online show curated by Louise Lawler at the very moment we speak.
Nice.
Some of my very early text pieces, like Pussy Beaver Cunt, were actually based on what men would say to you in the street. They do not know you, and yet there is a sort of privilege that these men assume in speaking to you as you pass by. The text, "Excuse me, miss," blah, 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 also hints at rape, sexual assault, unwanted sexual advances. This drawing was perhaps a little influenced by the #MeToo movement that was extremely intense, especially in the time I was preparing for this show. And mugwort, as you guys mentioned, the plant, which is illustrated as growing around the corn cob, can be used to terminate pregnancy. It is a sort of morning after pill. I also need to add that I looked out the window of my studio the other day. It opens out onto the glorious parking lot of Con Ed. And there in the parking lot, all along the edge outside my studio window, is just like a thicket of mugwort. I was like, oh, it feels at home.
Yes.
From this same time period, I'm still on corn. From the same time period, there was also a series of 3 very minimal corn cob pieces. They were thick circles of raw canvas with corn cobs projecting from the center. 2 were named Colonel and Privy.